Hi everyone, welcome to Running Start. This is Christina, and I am going to talk to you today a little bit about how to prepare for our group registration sessions. So I'm going to review some Running Start facts, which are important to bear in mind when you're thinking about registering for your first quarter. Some of this stuff may be repeat if you've already joined me on an info session before. I'm going to take a look at the academic calendar. This is a place where you can always find the important dates you need to know throughout the quarter. And then I'm going to help you prepare for the group registration sessions. So a couple of things before we start our preparation. Just a reminder that the grades that you get during your time in Running Start will become part of your permanent college transcript. And these grades will follow you all the way through your journey in higher education until you become a PhD. So it's really important to reach out to the Running Start office, connect with resources on campus, and let us know how we can support you during your journey with us. We want to make sure you're successful, and we want to make sure your grades are as high as they can be. So please utilize us as a support and a resource throughout your time in Running Start. FERPA is in regards to the Family Education Rights of Privacy Act. And so this is that act and that law, federal law, that protects you from other people accessing your educational records. Even if you're a minor, once you register as a Running Start student, once you become enrolled in a college, you are protected by this law, and it prevents people from contacting any college staff or administrators and asking us, for example, if we've seen you, are you attending classes, how are you doing, what are your grades? We can't answer any of those questions unless we have the written consent from the student, so from you, in order to talk to anybody else. And so this includes your guardians and your parents. If we don't have written consents from you to talk to anybody, we're not able to share that information. At the same time, just a note that while we aren't able to share grades and information like that with folks who may ask us, there is one person we are able to share with, which is your high school counselor. At the end of the quarter, we do mail your grades to your high school counselor, who puts them on your high school transcript. And so even if someone isn't able to access that information through the college, they will be able to see your grades on your high school transcript at the end of each quarter. When you're in your senior year, whether that's this upcoming year or next year, just bear in mind that we want you to complete all your high school graduation requirements, the ones you're planning on taking through Running Start, by the end of winter quarter. So winter quarter is the quarter that runs January through March, and we need you to finish your high school graduation requirements by then. If you leave them to spring quarter, which is the quarter that runs from April through June, the grades don't come out and aren't posted until after you're supposed to have graduated at your high school. So it can potentially cause issues with your timing of your high school graduation, being able to walk with the other seniors if you're completing high school graduation requirements after the winter quarter of your senior year. Now, Running Start does cover the tuition of how many credits are listed on your enrollment verification form, and this is filled out by your high school counselor, and we'll take another look at that in the next slide. But just for you to know, you are always responsible for the fees of your classes, and then any tuition that exceeds the credit amount that you're allowed. So on the enrollment verification form, your high school counselor will list a credit amount that you're allowed through Running Start, and we will cover that tuition free. So it may be 5 credits, 10 credits, the maximum would be 15. If you're taking any credits over that amount, say you're allowed to register for 1 class, you decide you'd like to register for 2, you would be responsible for paying the tuition on any class that exceeds the amount of credits listed on your enrollment verification form. At the same time, you'll also be responsible for tuition if you choose to take a class that is below 100 level. Some Running Start students choose to do this, particularly with math. If they want to take math at the college, but they don't place into college level math, they'll be taking perhaps intermediate algebra. The code for that class is 098, and because it doesn't start with a 1 and it's not a 100 level class or above, the student is responsible for paying for the tuition on that class. You're also responsible for purchasing any books, supplies, and any transportation costs. If you are eligible for free or reduced lunch in your high school, you could be eligible for our free and reduced lunch waiver, which allows you to waive your class fees, and we will also enroll you in our textbook program where we loan you the textbooks per quarter. You demonstrate your eligibility through the application, so if you attached your free reduced lunch waiver form on your application, then we will automatically enroll you in our program and give you the books for each quarter and waive those class fees. High school and college calendars are different. We are on the quarter system. Your high school is on the semester system. So our fall quarter doesn't start until the end of September, September 29th. And you would have been back in high school for a good few weeks before then. So being aware that if you're a part-time student, you're bouncing between your high school and your college, that our breaks do not align. And even if one of your institutions, whether it's your school or your college, is closed for a break, it's likely the other one is open and you need to attend class, even if your school is closed at the college. It is possible to be concurrently enrolled in 2 colleges. So if you have a conflict between classes and you see that perhaps Shoreline has a class open and you'd like to take that class there instead, it is possible to take a class at North and a different college at the same time. You just need to let us know in the office so we can work with the other college to make sure that you're coded correctly in our systems. So the enrollment verification form, this was one of the forms that you included in your application packet. It's the form that was signed by your high school counselor, yourself, and a guardian. We need a new one of these from you every quarter. We don't do group registration sessions in the same way for our continuing students, but you still need to get this enrollment form filled out every quarter in order to register. So this form tells our office how many credits you're eligible to take each quarter, and it also lists the recommended classes from your high school counselor. Once you've satisfied high school graduation requirements, maybe your high school counselor doesn't have any specific class recommendations, but we still need this form from them every quarter before you register. Once you've registered for classes and once the quarter begins, you still do have some options in terms of changing classes or dropping classes. If you find that the class is too challenging or perhaps it's just not what you expected and you need to step back and drop out of that class, you have up until the 10th day of the quarter, the 10th business day of the quarter, to drop the class without it showing up on your transcript. So it's like you never even walked into the classroom. You also have up until the 10th day of the quarter to change and add into a new class. Now, this will likely require instructor permission. So after the quarter is started, when you want to add a new class, you need to reach out to the instructor of the class that you want to add, and they have to give you permission to add the class. As they've already started the quarter, content has already gone by, perhaps there's been quizzes, essays, those kinds of things. So the instructor has to actually give you permission to take the class once the quarter has begun. You have until the 8th week of the quarter to withdraw from a class. So perhaps you were doing really good in the first few weeks, but then something happened and it was really affecting your ability to be successful in the class. You have until the 8th quarter to request a W. A W will go in your transcript and it won't affect your cumulative GPA. We generally advise that it's recommended not to have more than 2 or 3 W's on your transcript, and we really want to see a high grade trend after you've taken your W's. Looking forward a little bit, we always host our orientation before the beginning of each quarter. For fall quarter 2020, our orientations are going to be on September 8th and 9th, typically held at 4 to 6 p.m., although we haven't officially determined the time at this point, but you can tentatively put it on your calendar. You only need to attend one session, and in those sessions, we really go over what it takes to be prepared for your first day of classes. So a faculty member will come and share what the expectations of faculty are in the classrooms. We have an optional campus tour. We go over the academic calendar and important dates and deadlines. And then we'll also go over nuts and bolts about how to find parking passes and your textbooks and those kinds of things. So the academic calendar is a really good place to look for any dates and deadlines. Now, we do share the academic calendar at the beginning of each quarter with our students, but you can always find it if you Google Seattle Colleges and academic calendar through the internet. So I'm just going to toggle over here and show you what the academic calendar looks like. So this is the academic calendar for all of the Seattle colleges. So North Seattle College, Seattle Central College, and South Seattle College. And then if we scroll down here, I think fall is actually on the next page. Fall quarter. So it shows you all the important dates for fall quarter here. Fall quarter starts and begins on September 29th. The last day to withdraw in fall quarter is November 20th. And then our fall quarter ends December 17th. So it's always a good place to refer to if you're confused about whether you've missed a withdrawal deadline or you're wondering when registration for the next quarter begins. Take a look at the academic calendar. And again, it's just an easy search on Google. Okay. So group registration sessions and how we're going to prepare to get you registered for fall quarter. These sessions are going to be held via Zoom. And after you've watched this video, there's a short quiz that's linked on our webpage. Fill out the quiz, and then you get a link to sign up for your group registration session. So the sessions are 30 minutes in length, and we will do a brief overview, 2 to 5 minutes, of how to register yourself. We're actually going to prepare you for registering right now in this group registration session, preparation session. You'll need to have your enrollment verification form on hand, so go ahead and find that. And then you also need to have your student ID number and your PIN number ready for the session. So your student ID number you needed to have in order to apply to Running Start, so that should be on this form as well. And then your PIN number would have been in the email sent from registration with your student ID number. So your PIN number is likely your birthday. The format for that is month, day, last 2 digits of your year. So let's head over to our schedule. Okay. North Seattle class schedule is available at mynorth.seattlecolleges.edu. You can also search it on our webpage. And so once you get to this page, what you want to do first is change the toggle here to fall. It's really easy to start looking at the schedule and then realize you're looking at summer classes, and there's not that much availability in summer. So you want to be looking at fall. And then go ahead and log in over here in Student Sign In. So you're going to enter your 9-digit student ID, and then your PIN number, which again is likely your birthday, month, day, last 2 digits of your year. Sign in. If this is the first time you signed in, a box might come up here that asks you to confirm some personal information like your address, your phone number, and perhaps set a security question. So you just complete that, and then you're sent to the schedule. Now you'll notice that this 0019 flag pops up. And so there's a flag on your records that blocks registration. And that's because you're currently underage student and you're enrolled in the Running Start program. When you log into your group registration session, this flag will be removed. I would have taken it off, so you'll actually be able to register for classes. But for now, we're going to work with your schedule with this flag on. So to just go over what's shown right here, there are some filters on the left, and you can filter by open classes, course type if you're looking for a class online, perhaps a class that's in person and online. There's an option to filter by credit limit and time. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the instructor filter because it's a very detailed process. If you want to select any of these filters, you would just click it and then click Apply Filters, but I'm not going to do that right now. The rest of the schedule is basically broken down here into subject areas alphabetically. So we're going to take a look at English 101 because that's a popular first quarter class for Running Start students. The class title and the class code is shown up on these gray bars. So, as I mentioned before, any class below 100 level is a pre-college class. Running Start won't cover the tuition of it. So if you saw this English 099 and you're like, I want to register for this, please be aware that Running Start will not cover the tuition. You want to be in a 100 level and above. English Composition 1, English 101 is a typical Running Start first quarter class. It counts for LA 11 or LA 12. And so it is a 5-credit class over here. And then here are all your 22 options. So a lot of choices. There are a lot of sections that are happening at the same time on the same day, just because we know that a lot of our students, particularly Running Start students, want to have their classes at North in the morning. The only difference between all of these sections, so see here how there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections at 9 a.m., maybe 7, 6, is the instructor. They all cover very, very similar class content. The only difference is the instructor. So daily means Monday through Friday. There are also some options here that you can see are hybrid. And so this is a mix of in-person and online class. There are classes that are a couple of days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just Tuesday, Thursday. These tend to be for longer stretches of time. And then there are fully online classes. For Running Start students, particularly first quarter, we don't recommend joining an online class because it's hard to anticipate the course load. It's a bit of a different environment when you don't have access to your instructor in front of you. So we really recommend taking in-person classes your first quarter. Hybrid is okay because you're in class for a significant portion of the time together. If you do need an online class or you do want to take an online class, perhaps because of scheduling issues, then we'll just have that conversation during our group registration session to make sure that you're aware of what an online class would be at the college level. So go ahead and find a class that works for your schedule. And I'm going to say this 10 a.m. class is the one I want to add to my schedule. Now, as I mentioned, we are not able to register you until you're in that group registration session where I've taken off the block. But for now, what we want you to do is add the class that you think you'd like to take to your favorites. And you can do that by pressing that blue button right here. So the class is kind of in your shopping cart, like on Amazon, and it's just sitting there. You aren't registered for the class, it's just in your favorites. It's a pending area. And so we want you to build out your class schedule that way. So I've chosen the 10 a.m. English 101 class, and perhaps I need to take a health class to satisfy health in high school. So I'm going to go find that class. Looks like this is only offered online, so obviously it's okay to take this class online. There's no other option. And then I'm going to add this class to my favorites as well. When you're taking a look at classes, please read the description. Sometimes there are prerequisites, and so there are requirements for you to know about before you register for the class. This health class is saying, hey, as a student, you need to be eligible for English 101. You don't need to have completed English 101, but we're recommending that you're eligible for it in order to register for this class. Luckily for me, I'm eligible for English 101, and I've added health to my favorites as well. So those are the two classes I need for fall quarter. You can check there in your favorites by going up to my classes here, and then in this gray bar, you should find your favorited class. As I mentioned earlier, you are not registered for these classes yet. They are just in your pending section because of this block on your registration. You won't be able to register for these until you're in that group registration session via Zoom at a later date. Now, please build out your schedule. Make sure that your classes aren't conflicting. Make sure you're in fall quarter, and this will really streamline your process when we're in the group registration session if you've already built your schedule out here in favorite classes. Just a few things to note about your schedule, about the schedule area, My North here. You can also do a bunch of things in here by clicking My North. You can buy a parking pass. This is where you check your final grades at the end of the quarter. You can pay your class fees here, or if you did register for any classes that exceeded your credit limit, you can pay your tuition here also. And then this is also where you're going to be able to view your schedule and your placement scores. So once you've built out your schedule, you can leave My North and you can sign out right here. I'm going to head back to the presentation. And then you're going to wait to register for your group registration session. So you're going to take the quiz that's linked right after this video. After you've completed the quiz, once you've submitted it, a pop-up happens that says, thank you for submitting the quiz. And then there's the link to the Sign Up Genius right there. You're going to click on the Sign Up Genius and select a group registration session. It's going to be held via Zoom. Just a reminder to fill out your class favorites so that you're ready for that group registration session. Have your EVF, your student ID number, and your PIN ready for the group registration session because you'll need all those again to log into My North. And then just a reminder to add the orientation to your schedule. So go ahead, build out your class schedule, and we will see you at a group registration session in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.